Hey guys! Welcome to the Rare Coins Explorers. Imagine finding a simple 1999 P5 USA coin in your loose change, something you might casually toss into a jar or leave on your desk without a second thought, only to discover that this little nickel, with an original face value of just 5 cents, is worth a jaw-dropping $493 today, making it one of the most surprising and talked about modern coin treasures in history. And the reason behind this staggering value lies in a fascinating combination of rarity, condition, collector demand, and minting anomalies that have turned an otherwise ordinary piece of change into a small metallic fortune. Because when it comes to numismatics, the world of coin collecting thrives on the thrill of the hunt for such hidden gems, where subtle errors, unusual die varieties, and limited production runs can send values skyrocketing. And in the case of the 1999 P-nickel, collectors have uncovered examples that showcase striking features like die cracks that spiderweb across Jefferson's portrait, doubled dies that give his features or the inscriptions a ghostly echo, off-center strikes that leave portions of the design missing or misaligned, and planchet flaws that create unusual textures or missing details. And each of these quirks transforms the coin from a standard piece into something truly special. But what amplifies the allure even further is the story of the 1999 minting year itself, which came at the cusp of the new millennium when demand for coins was steady, yet the Philadelphia Mint, responsible for the PE mark, produced batches that were not entirely consistent in quality, leading to subtle differences that eagle-eyed collectors cherish. And while millions of nickels were made, only a fraction have survived in pristine uncirculated condition or with dramatic errors intact, making those survivors extremely sought after. And seasoned collectors know that the combination of mint state grades, especially MS-65, MS-66, and above, with clear, unique minting errors can exponentially boost a coin's desirability, meaning a coin you might dismiss as pocket change could, under the right conditions, command nearly $500 from an eager buyer at auction. And these values are not just speculative either, as auction records and private sales have repeatedly shown that well-preserved era coins from the late 20th century can fetch astounding prices, with the 1999 P-nickel joining the ranks of modern U.S. coins that have shocked the market. And what makes these finds even more exciting is how accessible they are. These coins were used in everyday transactions just a couple of decades ago, meaning anyone searching through old change jars, coin rolls from the bank, or inherited collections has a real shot at discovering one. And if you're lucky enough to find one, the details matter immensely. Sharp strikes, full steps on Monticello's depiction, unblemished surfaces, and strong luster will separate a valuable coin from an average one, while prominent and clearly visible errors can push its worth even higher. And part of the charm of this hobby is that it's as much about history as it is about money, because each coin is a small artifact of the era in which it was made, reflecting the design choices, minting technology, and even the quirks of human oversight that allowed certain mistakes to slip through. And the 1999 P-nickel captures a moment in American coinage when designs were still rooted in long-standing traditions, but technology was advancing, yet imperfections still crept into production. And the fact that a coin with such a humble face value can be worth nearly $500 today is a testament to the passion and persistence of collectors who keep the stories alive. And it's this mix of luck, knowledge, and patience that turns casual change hunting into a potentially rewarding endeavor. So whether you're a seasoned numismatist or just someone curious about the coins in your pocket, the 1999 P5 USA coin proves that the next time you glance at your loose change, you might be looking at a piece of history worth far more than it seems. And if you love learning about incredible coin finds, rare treasures, and the hidden value in everyday objects, make sure to like this video and subscribe so you never miss the next amazing discovery. Next, 2003 P5 coin. Imagine holding in your hand what seems to be an ordinary piece of pocket change, a simple 5-cent coin you might have passed over countless times without a second thought, yet hidden in plain sight. The 2003 PUSA Jefferson nickel has a fascinating story that has shocked collectors and casual finders alike. Because certain rare examples of this coin have been valued at a jaw-dropping $374, making it one of the most surprising pieces of big money history in modern numismatics. and the reason it captures so much attention is the incredible mix of scarcity, unique errors, and collector demand that make it far more than the face value stamped upon it. So to truly understand why a coin minted for everyday transactions can reach such remarkable heights, we need to delve into the context of its creation, its minting process, and the factors that make particular examples highly sought after, starting with the design, because the obverse of the 2003p nickel still featured Felix Schlag's long-running portrait of Thomas Jefferson, a design that had been in use since 1938, while the reverse bore the iconic Monticello building, Jefferson's Virginia home. But while the design itself was familiar, it was the minting year and specific conditions at the Philadelphia Mint that set the stage for special versions to become valuable, since even in a year with millions of coins produced, minor minting errors and die variations create scarcity, and scarcity is what drives the frenzy among collectors, with examples showing doubled dies, off-center strikes, improper planchet preparation, and unusual die cracks instantly separating them from the sea of ordinary coins, and when combined with superb uncirculated condition or full steps on the Monticello design, a grading detail highly prized by nickel enthusiasts, these coins can leap from change drawer obscurity to auction block spotlight. But what makes the $374 figure so compelling is that it's not just tied to an abstract grading scale, it's a real market result that proves even modern nickels can command serious money, especially when collectors are competing to fill a high-grade registry set or acquire unique varieties. And while the majority of 2003p nickels are worth only their face value, the tiny fraction that exhibit the right blend of rarity, eye appeal, and condition can ignite bidding wars. Sometimes online, sometimes at major coin shows, leading to a cascade of interest from new collectors eager to find their own treasures in circulation, and this fuels a feedback loop in the hobby where more people start checking their change, more coins are submitted for grading, and stories spread of someone discovering a hidden gem in a coin roll or inherited jar, making the allure even stronger. And when we think about the minting process itself, with massive high-speed presses striking planchets at incredible force, it's not hard to imagine how slight mechanical misalignments, die wear, or planchet flaws could create anomalies, and each anomaly tells a story of the mint's operation that year, from the conditions of the dies to the maintenance schedules and even the human oversight factors, and collectors value these little birthmarks because they're unrepeatable, so once found, they become part of numismatic history. And the 2003p nickel's popularity is also tied to its place in the timeline of U.S. coinage, because it was minted just before the major redesigns of the Westward Journey series that began in 2004, meaning it's one of the last Jefferson nickels with the classic Schlag design before significant changes, giving it a certain end of an era appeal, especially to purists who prefer the traditional look. And when you combine that transitional significance with tangible minting anomalies, you get a coin that resonates with both sentimental and monetary value. And that's why when news circulates about a particular example selling for hundreds, it becomes a kind of modern treasure hunt, because who wouldn't want to turn 5 cents into hundreds of dollars with nothing more than a sharp eye and a little knowledge? And the truth is, anyone can stumble upon one of these if they know what to look for, from checking for doubling under magnification, to inspecting the steps of Monticello for completeness, to spotting planchet errors that give the coin an irregular surface or coloration. And the more people learn about this, the more the legend of the 2003p nickel grows, feeding into the viral stories that spread across collector forums, YouTube channels, and social media posts, often with dramatic before and after tales of people cashing in their finds. And this cultural momentum is part of why the coin's story remains relevant years after it left the presses, because it's no longer just about metal and design, it's about the thrill of the hunt, the satisfaction of discovery, and the knowledge that even in an age of digital transactions, the humble physical coin can still surprise us with its ability to hold and even grow value. And so the 2003p USA Jefferson nickel with its potential $374 price tag stands as a reminder that sometimes the extraordinary hides among the ordinary, waiting for someone curious enough to notice. And if you've been inspired by this story, maybe it's time to dig through your spare change, check your coin jars, and see if your own little fortune is sitting right under your nose. And if You enjoyed diving deep into this fascinating piece of numismatic history and want to uncover more hidden treasures and amazing coin stories. Make sure to like this video and subscribe so you never miss the next incredible find. Next, 2012 D5 cent. Now we deep dive into the fascinating world of coin collecting where small details can turn ordinary pocket change into extraordinary treasures, and today we are focusing on the 2012 D Jefferson 5-cent coin, which might seem like just another nickel at first glance, but for sharp-eyed collectors it's a piece of American minting history that has been known to sell for as much as $84 because of the rare errors and mistakes that occurred during its production. And in this journey we're going to explore every aspect of why this coin can command such a price, from the physical characteristics and minting process to the types of mint errors that transform it from everyday currency into something worth searching for and keeping safe. Now, when we talk about a 2012 D5-cent coin, we're referring to a Jefferson nickel struck at the Denver Mint, identifiable by the small d mint mark on the reverse. And while millions were made that year, not every one of them is identical, because the process of striking coins on a massive scale leaves room for imperfections and anomalies which collectors call errors, and it's these errors that can drastically boost a coin's value. So let's begin by understanding the normal specifications for this coin. It's composed of a copper-nickel alloy weighing exactly 5 grams with a diameter of 21.21 millimeters and featuring on the obverse the profile of Thomas Jefferson, based on the sculptor Felix Schlag's original design, updated in the early 2000s for sharper detail, and on the reverse Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia home. Now, under perfect minting conditions, each coin should have sharp, even rims, consistent strike pressure, and centered images, but when machinery malfunctions, dies wear out, planchets are flawed, or alignment is off, the result is an error coin, and that's where the real excitement for collectors begins. One of the most common and valuable error types for the 2012 D nickel is the off-center strike, where the design is shifted to one side because the planchet, the blank coin disc, was not properly centered between the dies when struck, and depending on how far off-center the strike is, the value can increase dramatically. For example, a 5% off-center might only be mildly interesting, but a 30% or more off-center can leave part of the design missing entirely while showing blank planchet surface, which makes it much rarer and therefore worth much more. Another high-value mistake is the double die error, which happens when the die itself has a doubled image, usually due to a misalignment during the hubbing process when the die is created, and on a Jefferson nickel this can show up as doubled lettering in Liberty or In God We Trust on the obverse, or Monticello and 5 cents on the reverse. These doubling effects are visible to the naked eye or with magnification, and serious collectors are always on the lookout for them. There are also die cracks and die breaks that occur as the dies age and metal fatigue causes fractures. Small cracks might appear on the coin's surface, forming raised lines of metal. Sometimes they run through Jefferson's face or across the Monticello building, and larger die breaks called cuds can form when a piece of the die actually breaks off, leaving a blob-like raised area where part of the design is missing. Such coins are very popular because each cud is unique. Another intriguing error involves the planchet itself before it's struck. For example, if the planchet has lamination errors where the metal layers split or peel, these coins can have flaking surfaces or missing metal strips that show different coloration underneath, and such visual oddities immediately stand out to collectors. There's also the possibility of wrong planchet strikes, where a nickel design is struck on a planchet meant for a different denomination, such as a dime or a cent. This can happen if planchets are accidentally mixed at the mint, and these are exceptionally rare for 2012 D nickels and can be worth far beyond $84. In high-grade condition, clipped planchets are another category where part of the coin is missing in a curved or straight-edge shape due to a misfeed during planchet cutting, and collectors love these for their obvious visual appeal. Then we must consider strike-through errors, where a foreign object like a piece of cloth, wire, or grease is between the die and planchet during striking, causing an impression of that object to appear on the finished coin. Sometimes this results in missing design details if grease fills the die recesses, or even odd embedded shapes if debris gets caught. These errors are like time capsules of the minting floor environment, and their unpredictability makes them desirable beyond the striking errors. We also have to note that coin grading plays a massive role in value. Even for an error coin, the higher the grade, the closer it is to uncirculated perfection, the higher the price can climb. So a 2012 D nickel with a dramatic Off-center strike in a well-circulated condition might fetch $30 to $40, but in mint state 65 or higher it could reach $84 or more because collectors prize condition almost as much as the error itself. Another factor is rarity within the error type. Even if two coins have the same type of error, subtle differences like exact percentage of off-center or placement of doubling can make one example significantly more sought after than another, and while the 2012 D nickel had a large mintage, only a small fraction exhibit these high-demand mistakes, meaning demand can far outstrip supply, and when collectors compete at auctions, prices can soar. The fascination with such coins also stems from the historical and mechanical curiosity about how such mistakes slip past the U.S. Mint's quality control. In an era of advanced technology, it's a reminder that even with automation, human oversight, and machinery limitations still leave room for rare accidents, and for many collectors, hunting these coins is like treasure hunting in your spare change, or coin rolls from the bank. Roll searching has become a popular hobby where enthusiasts buy rolls of nickels at face value and search each one for rare dates, mint marks, and especially errors like those seen on 2012 D issues. The thrill is in never knowing when you might spot a dramatic off-center strike or a bold double die under your magnifier, and for beginners this particular year, and mint mark is a great hunting ground because while dramatic errors are scarce enough to hold value, they are not so rare that you'll never find one, and stories circulate in the coin community of people pulling such finds from circulation and selling them for tens of dollars above face value, or trading them to complete collections. In terms of market trends, era nickels from the 2000s era have steadily grown in popularity as more collectors focus on modern issues, realizing that older coin eras are becoming scarcer and more expensive to obtain. And as more people learn about coins like the 2012 D era nickel, the competition for the nicest examples has increased, which naturally supports higher prices. And for those who wonder why a 5-cent piece could be worth $84, the answer lies in that combination of rarity, demand, and collector passion. The market sets value based on what people are willing to pay, and when a coin's visual oddity captures the imagination or fills a hole in a specialized collection, bidders can drive the price to surprising heights. So whether you're a seasoned collector or just someone curious about the coins in your pocket, keep your eyes open for the unusual details on your nickels. Look closely at the rims, the lettering, the placement of the design, and even the metal surface itself, because each coin is a tiny piece of art and history, and with a little patience you might just spot a 2012 D with a mistake that transforms it into a valuable find that could be the start of your own collecting adventure. And with that in mind, always remember that the joy of coin collecting isn't just in the value but in the discovery, the connection to history, and the stories these little metal discs carry from the mint to your hand. So the next time you have a handful of change, give each coin a moment of attention, because you never know if you're holding an $84 nickel in disguise. And if you enjoyed this exploration of the 2012 D Jefferson 5 cent and its fascinating errors, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of coins, where every small detail can mean a big reward. Next, 2015 P5 cent, we deep dive into the incredible and often surprising world of rare coins, where we uncover the amazing stories and hidden treasures hiding right in plain sight, sometimes in your pocket change, sometimes buried in old jars, and sometimes quietly resting in forgotten drawers. And today we are going to unravel the remarkable and intriguing story behind a small yet extremely interesting coin, the 2015 P5 cent Jefferson nickel that, under certain circumstances, can be valued at around $63 because of a variety of unique errors and mistakes that make it stand out from the millions of ordinary examples minted that same year. So settle in, because what might seem like a plain, everyday nickel can actually hold a story worth telling. And as we journey together, you'll learn how these unexpected quirks in design, manufacturing, and distribution can transform an everyday coin into a sought-after collector's item. And perhaps you'll even be inspired to check your own change more carefully from now on, because who knows what treasures might be lurking there waiting to be discovered. So let's start by understanding the basics. The 2015 P. Jefferson nickel was minted at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the primary facilities for producing circulating coinage in the United States, and in that year, millions upon millions were struck, making it a very common coin in general circulation, which is why it's so amazing that certain specimens can command a much higher price than face value, and that price jump is driven almost entirely by minting errors, die varieties, and other unusual features that occur not by design but by accident, making each one a rare and distinctive piece. And to appreciate why these are so valuable, we first need to explore what exactly an error coin is, because when a coin is being minted, it undergoes several stages of production. From preparing the blanks or planchets, to striking the design with the dies, to inspection and packaging. And at any of these stages something can go wrong, and when it does, the result might be a misaligned strike, an off-center design, a doubled image, a die crack, a clipped planchet, or any number of other oddities that collectors prize precisely because they are not supposed to happen. And in the case of the 2015 nickel, there have been reports and verified examples of multiple error types, some of which can be subtle while others are quite dramatic. For instance, one of the most sought after is the double die obverse, where certain design elements like the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," or even the date itself appear to be slightly shadowed or duplicated due to the die having shifted slightly during production, giving a ghostly doubled appearance that instantly marks the coin as an error piece. And then there are off-center strikes where the design is not fully centered on the coin's surface, leaving part of the blank planchet exposed and the rest of the design shifted to one side, with the degree of off-centering often directly influencing the value. The more dramatic, the more valuable, especially if the date and mint mark remain fully visible. And another category is die cracks and cuds, where the actual metal die used to strike the coin develops a fracture or a piece breaks off entirely, leaving raised lines, blobs, or missing sections in the struck design. And for the 2015 nickel, these can sometimes appear around Jefferson's profile or along the rim, adding a distinctive and collectible flair. And then there are planchet errors such as lamination flaws, where part of the coin's surface peels or flakes due to impurities in the metal, which is a fascinating occurrence because it creates a unique texture and appearance that no two coins share. And while many people might dismiss such a coin as damaged, experienced collectors know that if the flaw occurred during minting rather than after circulation, it can actually increase value significantly. And in rare cases, wrong planchet errors can occur, where a nickel is accidentally struck on a planchet intended for another denomination, resulting in weight and size differences that are instantly noticeable to experts. And although there are no massive publicized finds of wrong planchet 2015 nickels, the possibility exists, which keeps collectors vigilant. And another subtle but potentially valuable error involves misaligned dies, where one side of the coin is perfectly centered but the other is rotated or shifted, creating a slightly dizzying effect when you flip the coin over, and the degree of rotation can impact desirability, with certain rotational errors being highly collectible. And then there are edge-related errors where the lettering, reading, or rim is missing, doubled, or otherwise malformed, something that can happen if the coin skips certain stages in the production process. And for the 2015 nickel, collectors have also noted strike-through errors, where some foreign object like a piece of cloth, thread, or metal shavings comes between the die and planchet during striking, leaving behind an impression of that object in the finished coin, a fascinating accident that quite literally preserves a fragment of the minting environment in metal. And when we put all this together, we see that while most 2015 nickels are worth exactly 5 cents, those with notable errors can reach values of around $63 or more, especially if they are in high grades with little to no wear, as condition plays a huge role in collectible value, because a pristine error coin not only shows the mistake more clearly but also represents a rarer survival, given how quickly circulation can wear down the details. And this is why collectors and dealers alike often seek out uncirculated or mint-state examples, which may have been pulled directly from bank rolls or mint sets before they could enter circulation. And what's particularly interesting about the 2015 is that while it's relatively modern and thus still often found in circulation, the number of high-grade error examples is small, meaning that as time goes on and more coins are worn down or lost, those that remain in top condition with dramatic errors could become even more valuable. So for coin hunters, the message is clear: check your nickels carefully, especially from this year. Look for doubling, off-centers, cracks, cuds, laminations, rotations, or anything else out of the ordinary. And remember that even subtle errors can have appeal to the right buyer, And the market for such coins is driven not just by rarity but by demand, which means that as more people become aware of these varieties, the potential for price appreciation increases. And that's part of the fun and thrill of numismatics. The knowledge that a small piece of metal with a face value of just 5 cents could, under the right circumstances, be worth many times more because of a quirk in its birth. So as you search through your change, keep a keen eye, use magnification if possible, compare suspicious coins to known error examples online or in specialized guides, and don't be afraid to set aside anything that looks unusual for further research, because while not every odd-looking coin is a mint error, some may just be damaged. The potential reward for finding the real thing makes the hunt worthwhile. And perhaps one day you'll hold in your hand a 2015p nickel whose flaws make it a miniature treasure, a piece of history, and a reminder that sometimes imperfection is far more valuable than perfection. So stay curious, stay observant, and happy coin hunting. And if you enjoyed learning about this fascinating little coin and the world of errors and varieties that can turn pocket change into serious collector's items, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more incredible coin stories, and join us again next time as we uncover more hidden treasures waiting to be found. Last, today we are going to focus all our attention on the 1994p Jefferson 5-cent coin struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which in certain rare error-filled examples has been known to fetch up to $417 on the collector's market, a value that far exceeds its humble face value. And in this journey we will peel back the curtain on why this particular coin year and mint mark can hold such incredible worth due to the unique mistakes and minting anomalies that occurred during its production, and how these errors can range from subtle doubling of letters to dramatic off-center strikes that make each coin a one-of-a-kind artifact for collectors to cherish. And we'll start by setting the stage with the standard details so you can understand what separates a valuable error coin from a typical circulation nickel. The 1994p Jefferson nickel is part of the long-running Jefferson nickel series, first issued in 1938, designed by Felix Schlag with Jefferson's left-facing profile on the obverse and the stately image of Monticello on the reverse, both updated slightly over time for sharper detail. The coin is made of a copper-nickel alloy with a weight of exactly 5 grams, a diameter of 21.21 millimeters, and a smooth edge, and under normal conditions it should display crisp details and perfectly centered images. Yet the very process of striking millions of these coins at high speed using heavy presses leaves room for the occasional imperfection, and these are where the most exciting finds happen for collectors. One of the most sought-after errors in the 1994p nickel series is the off-center strike, which happens when the blank planchet is not perfectly seated in the collar before the dies come together to strike it. This causes the entire design to be shifted toward one side, and the further off-center the strike is, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes. For small shifts like 5 to 10%, collectors may pay only a slight premium, but for dramatic examples of 40 to 60% off center where part of the design is completely missing and blank planchet space is visible, the value can skyrocket, especially in mint state condition. Another prized type of error is the double die variety, which occurs when the die used to strike the coin has its design elements doubled during the die creation process through a misalignment in hubbing, and on the 1994p Jefferson nickel this can manifest as noticeable doubling in the inscriptions "In God We Trust" or "Liberty" on the obverse, or in Monticello and 5 cents on the reverse. Such doubling can sometimes also be seen in the date itself, and while minor machine doubling does exist and is worth little, it's the true hub doubling that excites collectors and fetches high prices. Then there are die cracks and die breaks, where the immense pressure of striking coins hundreds of thousands of times causes metal fatigue in the dies, creating small fissures that transfer to the coin's surface as raised lines or ridges. These cracks can appear across Jefferson's portrait, through the fields, or even in Monticello, and in more extreme cases a portion of the die may break away entirely, creating what's called a cut, a large raised blank area with no design where the missing portion of the die failed to strike the coin. Cuts are particularly valued because no two are exactly alike and they represent a clear visual sign of minting imperfection. Planchet flaws are another category of errors that can push the value of a 1994p nickel toward that $417 mark. These include lamination errors where the outer metal layer begins to peel away, leaving a rough surface or exposed copper core, as well as clipped planchets where part of the coin is missing from the start due to an irregular blank cutting process. Clipped planchets can be curved straight or elliptical depending on how the blanking press malfunctioned, and each type is collected by error specialists. Yet another type of rarity comes from coins struck on the wrong planchets. Sometimes planchets intended for dimes, cents, or foreign coins end up in the hopper for nickels, leading to a Jefferson nickel design being struck on an undersized or different composition blank. This kind of mistake is extremely scarce, and for the 1994 P series it can command enormous premiums, especially when authenticated by a third-party grading service. Strike-through errors are also known for adding value to nickels when some foreign object, be it grease, fabric, wire, or other debris, gets between the die and the planchet during the striking process. The result is part of the design being missing or distorted with the pattern of the obstruction imprinted onto the coin. One of the more common strike-throughs is grease-filled die strikes where dirt and lubricants clog the die recesses, leading to weak or missing details on certain letters or features. While these are less dramatic than a full off-center strike, they still hold collector interest when paired with other unique features. Beyond these distinct categories, the value of any error coin also hinges on its condition. Even a rare double die or large cut will bring far less if it is heavily worn and circulated compared to a sharp mint state specimen. So for a 1994 P Jefferson nickel with an error to reach the $417 range, it often needs to combine both rarity of the error and excellence of preservation with sharp luster, minimal contact marks, and good eye appeal in the competitive world of numismatics market. Demand is a critical factor. While millions of 1994 P nickels were produced, only a minuscule percentage show the kind of dramatic errors that cause bidding wars at auctions, and collector interest in modern nickel errors has been climbing steadily as older examples become harder to find. The 1990s are an interesting era for mint errors because the minting technology was advanced enough to reduce mistakes, but not so automated and error-proof as to eliminate them entirely, making coins from this decade a sweet spot for collectors who want modern issues with character. The thrill of finding a rare 1994 P era nickel often starts with coin roll hunting, where enthusiasts search through bank rolls or even loose change for telltale signs of misstrikes, doubling cracks, or other abnormalities, and stories abound in the collector community of people finding a spectacular off-center or dramatic cut in circulation and later selling it for hundreds of dollars. The allure lies not only in the monetary gain, but also in the detective work of spotting something the average person would overlook. Even when a coin does not have the most obvious errors, subtle varieties and minor misalignments can still hold value to the right specialist, and every coin tells a story of its journey from planchet to press to pocket. This storytelling aspect adds another layer of fascination for collectors who value these coins as physical evidence of the minting process and its occasional human or mechanical flaws. For those who want to maximize the value of a fine, professional grading and authentication are often the next step, because when a coin is encapsulated by a trusted grading company with its error clearly labeled, it gives buyers confidence and often leads to stronger sale prices at shows or online marketplaces. And for the 1994 P nickel, a dramatic visible error in a high grade with a grading label confirming its uniqueness is exactly the type of coin that can push toward that $417 mark or beyond. As more collectors learn about and appreciate error coins from the modern era, demand for the best examples continues to rise, and while some may think that such valuable finds only happen to others, the reality is that error coins are out there in circulation today, waiting to be discovered by someone who takes the time to look closely and understand what they're seeing. So whether you are just starting out in coin collecting or have been at it for years, the lesson from the 1994 P Jefferson nickel is clear. Pay attention to the small details: the off-centering of a design, the doubling of a letter, the crack running across a field, the missing portion of a rim, because each of these clues can mean you are holding something extraordinary in your hand. And the next time you go through your change or open a bankroll, remember that even a nickel minted in 1994 could be worth hundreds of dollars, not because of its age, but because of the story its flaws tell and the rarity those flaws create. And that is what makes coin collecting so endlessly engaging: the chase, the history, the surprise of discovery, and the chance that what appears to be an ordinary coin is in fact a small fortune in disguise. So keep your magnifier handy, keep your curiosity alive, and you just might join the ranks of those who have turned a 5-cent coin into a $417 treasure. And if you've enjoyed this deep exploration of the 1994 Jefferson 5-cent coin and its rare and valuable mint errors, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more content where we uncover the hidden gems in everyday pocket change and bring you the knowledge you need to spot them before anyone else does.